Okay, today's, what do I want to do today? So first of all, let's do that. Let's do that. Okay. All right, now, the next thing I would like to do here, guys, I had my tooth extracted a couple of days ago, so I just didn't want to talk or do anything the last couple of days. All right, so like, what do I want to do here? So, what I'd like to do is a no. Yeah, I know what I want to do. So I'm just going to start writing here. Today is what day? The 27th? What?
With TD Complete Checking, Gina's ready to live her best life.
What? Wait, before we do anything on election fraud, what? Olympic ceremony satanic? What? What is going on?
The Olympic Games opening ceremony was the biggest pagan ritual that we've seen so far this year. Every time that the Olympic Games come around, we expect paganism will be on full display, and this year is no different. To kick off this pagan ritual, the Olympic Games started and went to Greece, where they had the initial torch lighting ceremony. This ceremony was a reenactment of what happened in ancient Greece during the Olympic Games, and even broadcasters on NBC and CNN were talking about how the high priestess was doing different actions and what they meant to the religion at the time. So the fact that we're seeing this on opening night is no surprise. One thing that I noticed right away is that they remade the Last Supper during the opening event. But instead of having Jesus Christ and his disciples, they put in drag queens. And when they revealed what that Last Supper was actually going to be, what that feast meal was going to be, we're shown a blue avatar-like god depicting Dionysus, who's a Greek god of gluttony and wine-bibbery. So you can already see the paganism coming in and that really kind of odd spin on the Last Supper from the Christian theology. We also saw very intense imagery as one of the final torchbearers, a woman that was hooded and riding on a white horse, eerily resembled Revelation 6:8, where we see a pale horse whose name was Death. This horse was meant to signify the Olympic spirit and what that actually meant. During the choir ceremony, we can see that praises are being sung, more or less, with a golden calf in the background. The ultimate goal of pagan worship is really one thing, and that's the communal
Dude, what
worship
the
of
fuck
false
is going
gods.
on?
And you can see this put on full display. Even as recently as 2022 at the Commonwealth Games in England, we saw full-on Baal worship front and center right at the middle of it. And yet many people will dismiss it, or say that it's not there, or say that it's a form of expression and not really false worship. In 2 Timothy 3:2 we read this: "People will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, and unholy." This is what's talking about is going to happen at the end of time. We know that we're closer than ever to Jesus' soon return, and I'm excited about that.
Anyway, back to Timcast.
The opening ceremony at the Olympics is the gayest ever, and that's not me insulting it. That's actually what people are saying about it, both left and right. And it was satanic in that they quite literally had a mockery of the Last Supper, as well as a pale horse running on the river. What's the river in Paris?
Yeah, the Seine.
The Seine River? There you go. I think that's what it was, but there's a pale horse, and it's you know, everybody's watching the ceremony. They're posting clips, and they're saying things like, wow, this is awfully anti-Christian and kind of satanic, and then you see the pale horse, and like, it literally is. Wow. Okay. For those who don't know, that's the horse of death in one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, and so naturally people are very critical about this. So we'll talk about the opening Olympics, and then also I guess they're reluctant to call it a terror attack in France. They were warning of terror attacks, and then there was a coordinated arson attack on French trains. So it sounds like terror to me, but nobody wants to say it. We'll talk about that. And then, of course, Donald Trump, who is not to be pushed around, is going to be holding another rally in Butler, PA. And the FBI is confirming, yeah, he got shot. So Chris Wray, kind of a dick move to say that he didn't, and they didn't know for sure. And then this one's big. The Mr. Beast allegations now confirmed. The initial victim who denied it at first has now come out and said, actually, yeah, it's all true. Someone posted Discord messages showing that they were running an adult content server for children. And this may include Mr. Beast himself. We're not sure, but he was apparently in the server. That's what, according to the post, so we don't know for sure again. But this Chris Tyson of Mr. Beast, this is big news. So we'll talk about that. But my friends, before we do, you got to head over to mypillow.com/Tim. Use promo code Tim when you're buying your amazing fluffy pillows. MyPillow is Mike Lindell, of course. You know him, you love him. We're big fans, and we appreciate the work that he does. Head over to MyPillow because you asked and they listened. They're finally bringing you the most requested offer ever. Their queen-size premium MyPillow, only $19.98. Of course, MyPillow is made with patented adjustable fill. It adjusts to your exact individual needs regardless of your sleep position, Help keeps your neck aligned and holds its shape all night long, so you get the best sleep of your life. In fact, I literally do have one. In fact, we have like 300 because we bought them for this pit, and we're having the kids jump into them. So now we have too many of them, but it's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing to have lots of these pillows. They say that's not all. You'll get their 6-piece kitchen and bath towel sets, only $25. The brand new mattress topper as low as $69.98. The famous MyPillow bed sheets, $25. Go to mypillow.com, use promo code Tim, or use the phone number 1-800-925-9096. Again, promo code Tim. Shout out to Mike Lindell. We do appreciate the support and the work that he does. Head over to timcast.com as well and click join us. Become a member to support our work directly if you like the show that we do, if you like the people that we have, if you like the writing, you like the culture building. It's all thanks to you as members. So sign up, become a member, and you'll get access to our uncensored members-only call-in shows Monday through Thursday. We don't got one of those tonight for you, but you'll get access to the Discord server to hang out with like-minded individuals. So that is, in and of itself, it's worth it. But as a member, you're keeping all of this going. So again, smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with all of your friends. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more is Johnny Tobacco.
How you doing, Tim? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming, man. Who are you? What do you do?
Well, who am I? I'm an international man of mystery, but
I like the jacket, by the way.
thank you very much. Well, I wear my Trump on my sleeves, as they say. But look, I'm from Staten Island, New York, and many people think New York City is kind of all blue and progressive, which it is, but Staten Island is the last bastion of republicanism there. I call it the red-headed stepchild of New York City. But, you know, I'm a dad. I'm a businessman. I've been working on Wall Street for 30 years. My Wall Street career got me into television by doing some commentary on CNBC. Turns out I just wasn't quite liberal enough for CNBC, so did the transition Fox Business, then started getting more into political speak, did the Fox News. Neil Cavuto happens to have a vowel at the end of his name, so he gave an Italian kid from Staten Island a shot. And then Chris Ruddy, the CEO of Newsmax, gave me the biggest shot of all. He went to his Christmas party as a guest in 2016, and he said, hey, you know, I know you're on that Fox Business thing there, and, you know, you want to be the small fish in the big pond, or you want to be big fish in a small pond. And we cut a deal literally in November of 16 at their Christmas party. I'll quit I'll quit Fox right away and come over there if I can get my own show. And by December, I had my own show on Newsmax and never looked back. So
Right on.
that's why we're the fastest growing cable network on TV.
There you go. Well, thanks for hanging out. Should be fun.
Thanks for having me.
We got Libby hanging out.
I'm hanging out. I'm Libby Emmons with the Post Millennial and Human Events. Glad to be here.
I'm Hannah Claire Brimmel. I'm also hanging out. I'm a writer with scnr.com at Scanner News. I'm happy to be back tonight, and I'm glad you guys are all joining us on this Friday. Let's get started.
Here's the big story from Breitbart.com. The gayest Olympics ever. Paris Olympics opens with suggested bisexual threesome. Man, I really hate to open with that. I mean, we try to be family friendly, and that one just kind of hits you in the face like a sack of bricks. But that's what happened, and it's what people on X are saying. Both the left and the right. The left is saying, "Wow, this is awesome! It's the gayest ever," and the right's going, "Oh, geez, it's the gayest ever." So you've got a lot of that stuff. But the issue that's really hitting people is. Here's a question: is YouTube going to be mad that we're showing this like half-naked guy? Well, it was on TV. This is a French actor portraying Dionysus, who's the god of, well, they say the god of wine, but let's just say he's, I don't know.
He's a pleasure god.
Degeneracy? Mm-hmm. You know, whatever. So then they have a mock Last Supper with a bunch of drag queens, and oh boy, are people calling this out as satanic. Clint Russell, Liberty Lockpod, says this is crazy. Opening your event by replacing Jesus and the disciples, the Last Supper, with men in drag. There are 2.4 billion Christians on Earth, and apparently the Olympics want to declare loudly to all of them, right out of the gate, not welcome.
In that shot, you can see there's like a little kid in it, too.
There's a little kid in it?
At the table, like right
Oh,
there.
yeah, look, a child.
I thought that was Kamala Harris's next press conference. Didn't she introduce on with RuPaul the other day? She should
Is that
be
what she
there.
did?
Yeah.
That's tonight. She's like on with RuPaul.
Yeah.
On the drag show.
Taped it the other day.
Wow.
So then Clint Russell says, I thought it couldn't get worse. It does. They put a pale horse, just in case you weren't sure, that this was all intentional, straight out of Revelations. WTF is happening. I kind of felt the same way. I was like, well, you know, they're being disrespectful. It's blasphemous, whatever you want to call it. But the pale horse on the river, now that's an endeavor. He says, last post for the people claiming that the opening video is not depicting the Last Supper. They even added the mock halo just to make sure you knew what you were looking at. Stop playing dumb. Quite literally. And also it looks like they inverted. They intentionally inverted the positions of some of the people at the table. I think, so like this pose right here, in the Last Supper, it's actually the other way around with the arm going the other direction. Some of the positions are inverted. And then they have quite literally a pale horse, which is, of course, the horse of death.
It's from Revelations.
Yeah. The four horsemen, let's see, there's the white horse, there's the red horse, there's the black horse, and then the pale or green horse representing death. And that's your Olympics for you. So how you guys doing?
Yeah, I mean,
On the drag show.
taped it the other day.
So then Clint Russell says, I thought it couldn't get worse. It does. They put a pale horse, just in case you weren't sure that this was all intentional, straight out of Revelations. WTF is happening. I kind of felt the same way. I was like, well, you know, they're being disrespectful. It's blasphemous, whatever you want to call it. But the pale horse on the river, now that's an endeavor. He says, last post for the people claiming that the opening video is not depicting the Last Supper. They even added the mock halo just to make sure you knew what you were looking at. Stop playing dumb. Quite literally. And also it looks like they inverted. They intentionally inverted the positions of some of the people at the table. I think, so like this pose right here, in the Last Supper, it's actually the other way around with the arm going the other direction. Some of the positions are inverted. And then they have quite literally a pale horse, which is, of course, the horse of death.
It's from Revelations.
Yeah. The four horsemen, let's see, there's the white horse, there's the
This is
red
actually
horse,
real.
there's the black horse, and then the pale or green horse representing death. And that's your Olympics for you. So how you guys doing?
Yeah, I mean, the guy might have wanted to hit the gym a little bit there before doing that whole Blue Man Group workout he's doing.
But I actually think to be Dionysus, it's quite literally the point. There's no effort. He wouldn't want to hit the gym. They're trying to represent laziness.
Got it.
Yeah.
The Olympics opening ceremonies always push some kind of like multicultural, we're all the same, super progressive values. At least like in my living memory, that's what they've been like. It is disappointing to see, but it's almost not surprising because it seems like anytime there's this sort of huge international stage, you have to have some sort of like pro-LGBT,
But only in the
degeneracy.
West. I mean, only in the West.
My
only in
lord.
the West do we look at our culture and say, let's just completely destroy it. Let's take it and flay it and,
Yeah, China didn't do this.
No, China had 2,008 people drumming in unison to represent their collective identity. And we have this. I mean,
Well, it's Paris, to be fair.
it's Paris, but do we have any doubt that something like this would happen in LA or London?
Well, we're going to find out in 4 years.
I guess we will find out.
Yeah, Olympics, Los Angeles, right?
The one thing, too, though, is by the time we get to Los Angeles, maybe they'll just let men compete as women as well.
They already do.
In the Olympics? I
Depends
think
on the
Yeah.
sport and it depends on the hormone
it depends
level.
on the
Yes.
sport. Oh, because it's like the nano mules. That's right.
Oh, and it's going to be like the Soviet Union all over
Yeah.
again. I mean, come on, dude. If people want to win the Olympics, they're going to win the Olympics.
Absolutely. You know, my girlfriend is a former boxer. She was a Golden Gloves boxer, and she was a champion, top of the field as a woman. And she said even if she worked out in the gym with guys who were like a little lighter than her, if they really hit her like full force, she could get hurt.
Yeah.
So it's just
Bone density,
it's-
muscle mass.
Yeah, it's a physiology
collagen.
thing. It's the whole thing. It's just crazy that, she feels like women fought so hard for the equality stuff and to get a woman's Golden Gloves, and now every mediocre guy can grow his hair long.
I mean,
say his name is Hannah Claire, and he's
look, I got to be honest.
Feeling my identity. It's not a joke.
I'm 38, and so in terms of a skateboarding career, I'm well past my prime. But I can tell you this: if I competed in the women's Olympics, I'd probably get the podium. I'd be 42 at the time, so I'd have to really, really push it.
Well, you
But,
remember Laurel Hubbard just a couple of years ago. Laurel Hubbard, the New Zealander weightlifter, who pushed some young 20-something women out of the weightlifting category and went on to compete and, screwed up.
That was the Olympics?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wasn't that the Olympics?
Yeah, the Olympics.
Yeah.
But my real point is this. if you're a country like North Korea and you're thinking we just want to win the Olympics, we don't care, we're going to go to the whatever the rules are, why wouldn't North Korea just be like, okay, let's send a guy.
Yeah.
He'll win.
They probably have, but would you
Well, the Soviet Union notoriously had these women who showed up just massively ripped and pumped full of testosterone.
What would you go as? Tina? If you went into the women's...
No, Tim.
You just go as Tim?
Well, yeah, there's a Timmery is a female.
Do you have to come up with like a fake
No,
woman's
I would
name?
literally do nothing. I'd keep the beard, I'd keep the clothes, I'd wear the exact same thing, and I'd say, I don't adhere to your heteronormative gender stereotypes. I've decided that I am a woman. I want the prize money. What is it?
Do it, Tim.
I'm not gonna do
I
it.
think there will be people incentivizing people. Like, there's no reason a country that's like, we really want to make a name for ourselves wouldn't do this.
Well, the first, second, and third place in a cycling championship in Washington State, the first, second, and third place were teams. They were like pairs of teams, and each one had a man on it.
Yeah.
First, second, and third, men winning in the women's cycling Grand Prix. I thought that was absolutely absurd.
Well,
What do you win if you like? Do you win money?
They won money.
No, but I mean,
it
like
wasn't
first
that
place
much
Olympics,
money.
do you win money?
Oh, for the Olympics, you get gold and you get sponsorships. You get, a lot of stuff that comes along with it.
$37,500 for gold.
37.5.
$22,500 for silver and $15,000 for bronze.
Yeah,
Yeah, I gotta tell you,
it's not
I
that
bet-
much, but
Not worth 37.
But if you're from
Not
like
worth
a country
but-
that doesn't have any resources and you're a guy and it's like, well, I could at least get silver in a women's division. Like, if that money could change your life, why wouldn't you do that?
no, for real. I mean, if it's about winning money, who's gonna be like, I'm going to put my look, this country said here are the rules. If you're a woman, you decide to be a woman. It's like, okay, well, all right, I'll take 40 grand.
I think some of it is like, it's the cultural ties, right? Like, if the culture that you come from understands what you're doing and isn't like appalled by you, then you go home with glory and money. But if you're from a culture that's like, that's whack and we're going to mock you for the rest of your life, then maybe you're not going to do it.
Oh,
That's
dude.
the only deterrent.
Russia would send some hotshot 20-year-old to say he's a woman.
Well, Russia's not
Win
even
the
allowed
money.
to compete under its own flag right now.
Well, there you go. But I just mean like the mentality of a country like Russia is going to be like, rip them off and exploit them as much as you can.
Yeah.
They deserve to be exploited if they want to be.
I could see that, but to Hannah Claire, what you were saying, I think humans overall, whether you say your community or your culture accepts it, I think humans overall would just internally, innately be like, that's effed up. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, I don't think it's about culture. It's about just humanity. You know when you're doing something wrong. Everyone knows when you're doing something wrong, in my view. It's like, should you choose to look the other way, but
I think people know when they're doing something wrong. I do think there are some people who feel as though the ends justify the means, right? Like, they are justified to, they deserve whatever, they are trying to achieve. And so therefore, even if they feel that like heartstring pull somewhere in their mind, they know it's wrong, there are a lot of people who do the wrong thing anyways because they feel like, well, I deserve this, or I should have this, or, actually this benefits me in some other way. I think that's why people get so kind of lost, right? They don't want to accept sort of the moral boundaries we all know, and so they're constantly at odds with themselves.
yeah, there's no question about that. But I think in America, they look for that now. Well, they're doing it, so we can all do it. And, I always say, like, throughout the lockdowns, we in Staten Island were, like, fighting back. I was opening up a local bar against the rules, and we were getting arrested. We were having protests and all this other stuff.
that was you guys?
Yeah, that was us.
All
That
right,
was
I
Max,
remember that.
Max Public
Yeah,
House.
yeah,
That
yeah.
was me leading the resistance, and the
How French of you.
kids who owned the bar were out of money. And I met with them, and I asked them, well, why are you doing this? Why are you opening the place up? Well, how can I help you? I'm with the news. Can I bring some attention to it? And they said, JT, maybe you don't understand this, but we literally don't have any more money. We opened the place. We hit up our credit cards. We could have quit our jobs. We've now hit up our parents a couple times. We don't have money. And I remember a seminal moment talking to them, thinking like, they're saying they don't have money anywhere in their network, in their family, in their pocket. And I'm just sitting there like, maybe there's days I don't have cash on me because my kids, my girlfriend hits me up all over left and right, but I could always go to an ATM. I could always go. They were literally talking to me about existential. We don't have any money. That's why we're opening. We got about $3 grand in inventory in this joint. They've taken our liquor license. We're going to sell it. And I was thinking, I got to help these kids.
Mm-hmm.
Then the cops came in, arrested them that night. My lawyer was there with me, and I said, hey, listen, guess what? This place is a TV studio now. And tomorrow I'm going to start broadcasting Liquid Lunch, my TV show, from here with no liquor license, which I did. And I broadcasted there for months, and we fought them off, draping ourselves in the First Amendment. And then Saturday Night Live at that time was exempt, and they were allowed to have live audience. So I was doing the same, and I was employing the staff to give the drinks and food away for free. And I said, they're all props. These people are live audiences, and my show is called Liquid Lunch. So we serve drinks, and people tipped healthily.
Right on.
But we fought the hell out of De Blasio and Cuomo.
I loved when you guys were doing that. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Let's jump to the story as another component of the Olympic opening ceremony. And this is something that Johnny pointed out to me before the show. They depict the Statue of Liberty riddled with holes, decaying. And so Business Insider actually says the Statue of Liberty made an appearance. During an animated segment of the show, the torchbearer flew in a hot air balloon past a number of recognizable figures, including the titular character from the famous French novella The Little Prince and the Statue of Liberty. The French famously gifted Lady Liberty to the U.S. in the 1800s, and a smaller version of the statue sits in Paris. But when you actually look at the video, you can see the statue is actually destroyed. I mean, this is nuts. The symbolism here, I think, is fairly obvious. They are destroying the West. This is our history. They have torn down our statues in the streets, and now at the Olympic ceremony, they are showing the Statue of Liberty damaged and destroyed.
Apparently with a bullet hole in the face. That's the way I took it. And you know, Staten Island sits directly in the middle between in the middle of the harbor. The Lady Liberty sits in the middle of the harbor between Staten Island and Manhattan. So Staten Island ferry goes by hundreds of times a day. There's not a molecule on it that isn't perfect right now. So the only thing that could be saying is they want it to be shot up, tattered, beaten. You know what I mean? That's how it looks.
Either they want it to be, or they have no respect for America as is, and that's the way they view us, right?
One or the other.
Because this is pre-recorded, they obviously made it a long time ago. Like, there was a point where they're like, "Oh, well, we have this American icon that is specific to the relationship between France and America. How do we view it? Damage." That's my interpretation.
Yeah, I think the subliminal there is either we've damaged Lady Liberty that they've given us, or they're soothsaying the future demise of Lady Liberty. But either one is kind of, to me, everyone knows Macron is in that World Economic Forum, and he wants to be Klaus Schwab's buddy, and him and Trudeau and all these guys, they look like the cookie cutter part. To me, this is Macron, doing an ode to the WEF crowd. Look how we're making fun of America.
There's another portion of it that people are upset about. I don't know that I care that much. Marie Antoinette with their head chopped off singing, and then there's death metal playing, and I'm like, I mean, I don't know.
Well, they're celebrating the terror.
Yeah, but it's like a death metal performance.
Wait, what?
Other portion of it that people are upset about. I don't know that I care that much. Marie Antoinette with their head chopped off singing, and then there's death metal playing, and I'm like, I mean, I don't know.
What the
They're celebrating the terror.
fuck?
Yeah, but it's like a death metal performance. I don't see this as attacking Christianity, blasphemy. It's just like horror.
Degenerate?
It's just celebrating the French terror.
Yeah, but I say what
people revolted and murdered everyone.
I don't know if it's celebrating it. I would say it's they're performing with an allusion to it. Replacing the Last Supper with a bunch of drag queens and a child, and inverting the positions and showing a pale horse and putting Dionysus on the table of the Last Supper, that's overtly, intentionally offensive, attacking Christians. Having Marie Antoinette is like, what, insulting the French or not? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't see this as an attack on Christianity necessarily. I do think it's kind of a interesting choice to depict your own history, kind of what Olivia's saying. But what I find interesting is it's like the face is kind of in drag makeup, and it's extreme hair, extreme colors, and it's sort of ugly. And they're contrasting that with the architecture of France, which I typically find pretty beautiful. And
well, the old stuff, yeah.
Right, the old stuff. And so there's this level of like Are you saying we just can't have beautiful things on their own anymore? Like, what is the goal here, to have this modern moment against kind of history? I don't get what they were going for with this one, but
Seems a little avant-garde for something that is a world stage event where everyone comes to show off their athletic prowess and abilities.
somebody let the theater kids plan this.
I'm not going to feign outrage over a death metal performance with Marie Antoinette singing with her head cut off, because it's like, death metal is just meant to be that kind of hokey. The overt, like having a pale horse run on the water, is kind of like, it's creepy, and insulting the Last Supper is just needlessly controversial and offensive to way too many people. And I'm not a Christian, so I'm not going to pretend like that's the most offensive thing in the world to me. But I can identify that as, like, intentionally trying to antagonize people. This, I don't care. You know, the Statue of Liberty, I think, is antagonistic to Americans.
That's what I think. I mean, I just saw a friend sent me a video of his television screen and said, can you believe this is happening? And I was like, what the hell is that? And then
I'd love to see the entire thing. I'd love to watch the whole opening. I didn't see it.
Hey, NBC,
let
or
us
whatever.
know.
You have to pay NBC.
I guess so.
Sign up for Peacock.
Yeah, something like that.
Hey,
I'm
this is not a sponsor.
No, I think Peacock's dead. I think it's like falling off like CNN.
A lot of streaming services are struggling. I mean, I think I would always love to have, and maybe if you had listened live, you would have got a commentary on whoever was, in charge of planning this, being like, oh, well, we thought this was a good idea for this reason. But, so much of it seems to be trying to be provocative, and it works in two folds, right? With the Last Supper and the allusions to Christianity, like, we know you wouldn't do it for other religions, so it's both cheap and also, obviously anti-Christian. With some of this stuff, I feel like it's trying to be shocking in a way that is just sort of grotesque. Like, it's not thought-provoking, it's just sort of ugly. And I think that's kind of a waste of this big moment, right? I think we should have cultures that celebrate beauty and celebrate interesting things. I don't mind the death metal, I just think that, like, this is sort of, I don't get it, and I don't know what they were trying to achieve other than sort of ugliness.
Well, I just think the West is culturally dying or dead. I mean, it's France, so I kind of shrug. France can do what France wants, but there's there's like international relations, or I should say, there's an international Western culture, and this is desperation and it's stagnation.
Yeah, and it should have been cool, right? Because this is the first time they've ever had this ceremony outdoors. It's normally in some sort of big stadium or coliseum or whatever. The fact that it's like this huge event that they have done actually through the middle of Paris on water. Like, it's not even they're marching down the street. They are on water. That should be really impressive, right? And instead it's like tainted by all these weird artistic, political, ideological choices. It makes you...
It's just super gay. I mean, it's just,
for no reason. Like,
super gay like everything else. Like, all the new Star Wars is super gay.
Yeah.
Disney is super gay. All our TV shows are super gay. That's like the only thing that you're allowed to be into anymore. Is
Superman's
like super gay stuff.
Yeah.
Superman.
He
super
gave
gay.
up. I actually adopted Superman's old slogan for my show, Wise Guys. We end every show by saying that we stand for truth, justice, and the American way. Because Superman doesn't even say that anymore. He says truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. So Superman's gay too.
how less specific of him.
His son, but I think that comic crashed because it's because nobody wants to read it. The hero's journey is you're familiar with the hero's journey, the very typical story arc. And it's something like thrust into adventure, aided by magic, whatever. There's like 3 key points, but it breaks down. And so you look at all of the major superhero movies, you look at Star Wars, they follow the hero's journey. And now they don't. And it's no surprise that they're all starting to lose money.
Right.
Yeah, because who's driving the viewership of these movies? It's young men. And they long for adventure. So you take Superboy and you're like, his politics are weird and he's gay. And there's going to be a young kid who's like, well, I want to go to the moon and fight aliens. I don't want to I don't relate to a comic about having a boyfriend and lamenting like your breakup. But that's what they're making. You look at Spider-Man, for instance, and the male power fantasy there is in the Spider-Man 2000 movie. It's Green Goblin has the busload of children and Mary Jane, and he's like, who will you save, Spider-Man? Mary Jane or suffer the children or something like that. And then Spider-Man's like, I'm going to save them both. And young men are like, yeah, I'm going to save everybody. Now it's like haha, Spider-Man, your boyfriend's mad at you. Did you buy him a present? And he's like, oh no, I forgot our anniversary. And it's like, do women want to watch that? Because
Nobody
guys
wants to
don't.
watch that.
Nobody wants to watch
No,
that.
we need more He-Man, Masters of the Universe. We need, Hulk Hogan. We need Randy Macho Man Savage.
Yeah. That's why I thought-
Jimmy Superfly Snooker. They had the hero's journey, right? They had a little bit of magic and a little bit of theatrics. So like macho alpha young men looked up to these guys. They wanted to jump off the top rope and take down the bad guys. And
Yeah, I think that like toughness too really speaks to a lot of like Americana culture that people are seeking and wanting, like a bravery, a toughness, a perseverance. I loved Hulk Hogan's speech at the RNC.
It was really fun.
I thought it was so fun. I wish I had been in the. I mean, I was obviously happy to be on IRL that night, but like it's the kind of thing you wish you could have experienced live because,
I did.
it's not. Well, I'm sure it was great. Libby was sitting next to me editing for Post Millennial, and I saw her, have a picture of him tearing his shirt, and I was like, Libby, you have to send that to me. That's the best photo of all
Without a
time.
doubt,
And
without
you
a
would see
doubt.
these posts afterwards be like, can you imagine being like European and looking at this like this is American politics? Like it's both fun and lighthearted, but also serious and also like this weird display of masculinity. Not even weird, just like
It's just
over
a
the top.
display.
Yeah.
Of masculinity. And the reason it looked weird is because we see so little masculinity.
Oh,
Right.
I feel like it's slightly
In
weird,
our
and I don't actually
spotlight.
mean it's weird because I
But,
never
like,
got into
when
like
I was
WrestleMania
a kid,
and
we
stuff.
like
you know?
Hulk Hogan was a big figure when I was a kid. He was everywhere. Him and Roddy Piper and all the rest of them.
Yeah.
It was cool. I mean, like there is something
Well,
cool
I was-
about just being.
We had like Hulk Hogan action figures.
I was there. I was, a fan. I'm not like the biggest like WrestleMania fan, but growing up, you always looked up to these like wrestlers. Are they real? Are they not real? But I was out in Milwaukee for a week, and just this week we had Alina Haba on my show Wise Guys, and we break down. Each of us gave our thoughts on the best moment, and I think. From Cara Castronova, my co-host, to Alina Haba, to Lou Gelomino, we all agreed that was like the moment. Like that's why Trump's such a great showman. You know what I mean? When Hulk Hogan personalized himself, he said, "Hey, everybody knows me as the Hulk and all this other stuff, but my name's Terry Bollea."
Yeah.
And I couldn't get involved in politics because Hulkamaniacs like Biden and Hulkamaniacs, it was a business thing. He said, but you know what? I had to get off the couch now.
Wow.
Because they tried to kill my friend.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was in the room. I was there. It was like a moment. You know what I mean? And then when he started ripping that shirt open, I mean, that was the bring down the house
Yeah.
moment of the whole entire other than, Trump coming out, the fireman, Corey Compatore's jacket was there. I thought that was like a really sensitive moment. But the Hulkster ripping
As
the
a-
shirt, boom.
As an aside, too, just while you're talking about Trump and all that stuff, someone in the chat said more zebra print clothing, but he's not wearing a zebra print jacket.
Can
Oh,
I
yeah,
show the back, Tim?
Yeah, whatever, I don't know.
Stand up. Will you see me on my camera?
It's a bunch of Donald Trump. They thought it was a zebra.
And this is not your only one of these jackets. It's my favorite.
No, I have a growing collection.
I think that hype that Hulk brought to the convention, there are a lot of cool moments at the convention.
Yeah.
But, with that one in particular, I think a lot of people feel like that. Like they want to have their moment where they can just be like, I'm in. Like this is moving forward. And there was something really hopeful about it. There was something really like powerful. There's, I think it was great. And to now be in this news cycle where it's like constant attacks on everybody and Kamala is so much better and she's constantly wagging her finger and using identity politics, like it feels very much the opposite of sort of the hype and excitement and the like positivity that I felt like a lot of the RNC speakers had.
So let's jump to this next story from the AP. While Paris is very busy with their largely gay, and I mean that in literal sense, men who like men. I'm not trying to be derogatory here. Opening ceremony with Dionysus and the mockery of Christianity and depicting one of the horsemen of the apocalypse, the pale horse of death. While they're busy with all of that, arsonists have attacked the French high-speed rail system hours before the opening ceremonies, and it's a coordinated attack. They're not saying the word terror, but they've been warning about terror threats at the Paris Games. And then when you have a coordinated arson attack on the trains, I don't know why they're not calling it terror, but fine, they can call it whatever they want. I'm just going to point out, maybe if your country wasn't so just hell-bent on ripping its culture to shreds, you might have some strong men who could help secure your nation and prevent, I don't know, coordinated arson attacks on your train system.
And I like that the French intelligence services are taking a page out of the Secret Service's book and just being like, well, we don't know what's going on. We won't say anything at all. Like, it's been hours and they're like, no arrests made. Who knows? Crazy mystery.
Yeah, we were covering this today at Human Events, and we were looking at it, and I was talking to, my editor there, and I was like, so who did the attack? No idea. Are there any leads? No. Is there an investigation? Doesn't seem to be.
No social media use.
What's going on?
This person barely
Is
existed.
anything happening at all?
Yeah.
Trains caught on fire.
I can understand.
It was lightning.
Right. And, like, they have tons of tourists. I mean, I think they said this
Immigrants.
travel there for, like, 10,000 people. But you're right. Like, they have a huge
France
problem.
got an open border. They
Yes.
got immigrants everywhere. So
And a lot
how many international terrorists have crossed our southern border that we know about? Hundreds, maybe thousands. But there's probably more in France. It's easier for them to get to.
I mean, there have been attacks in churches in France. France has had instability for a little while now. And on top of that, I tend to think you're right that it has to do with the migrant crisis in France. But I think it's also worth noting that there's a lot of environmental protests that are getting more aggressive in France, right? Like, or not just in France, in Europe. And so there are all kinds of combative factions that would probably benefit from making a big display of disrupting the opening games in Olympics. Like, or the opening ceremonies for the Olympics. I just don't understand how long they think they can keep this under wraps. I feel like they're just waiting to decide which narrative is going to do less damage.
Oh, we'll see.
It's not
I
good.
think, back to my point, I don't know how Europe pushes through this, what's going to happen. Marine Le Pen, of course, was, I would say, I don't want to say defeated, because I believe they're now the what is it, the National Front or whatever?
The National Rally.
National Rally are the single largest party, but with the leftist coalition, they're still 40% or whatever. They're
Well,
still,
and the left formed that coalition specifically to bump National Rally out of the top place.
but it doesn't matter. I mean, if there's more anti-nation people, then your country's, that's it. You are in the flood, and there's no turning back. The current has become too strong. How does a country like France turn this around? For the United States, I'm actually fairly optimistic with Donald Trump and the things that are happening. Trump's ahead. He's winning. We don't know what's going to happen, but in France, they're not. They're behind.
Yeah, they're well behind. I certainly hope that the people who hate America are not the ones who end up continuing to lead it. I'm so tired of hearing about how America sucks. It's like, how is this going to spur us to do better? Just telling us we're garbage all of the time.
All the time.
Just all the time.
And that we're all enemies, right? That we all secretly have all kinds of, bias or whatever against each other. It's such a divisive approach, and I think it's ultimately disheartening.
Yeah, it is disheartening.
It stinks that this simple phrase that Barack Obama has used, Bill Clinton has used, Ronald Reagan has used, "Make America Great Again," poses this massive problem to people, right? Number one, they don't want to admit that it was ever great, right? It's based on all these horrible things, so that's one, and then, well, why wouldn't you want, if it was, why wouldn't you want it to be great again? And you just sit there and you see Supreme Court justices not being able to define what a woman is.
I'm hoping young people, we had Brylan Hollyhand on the other day, and he's a smart kid. He knows exactly what he's talking about, and he's 18. He's still in high school, and we got his book right here. And I'm just like, he says Gen Z is leaning in a certain direction. They're kind of upset about things. I hope that's not just his circle. I hope we're actually going to see young people who are like, yo, hey, man, like, I'd like to own a house. Because if that pressure exists, there's going to be a revolt against the wokeification and the far left, because they're going to make you live in the pod and eat the bugs.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I've been following this story that they're trying to move us to cricket burgers. I don't know if you heard about this, Tim.
Of course. They got those cheese puffs, and if you don't check, there's cricket in it. And they use a special word for cricket. I forgot what the word was, but it's like a weird word you wouldn't recognize. And then you look it up, you're like, oh, that means cricket. And they're going to start putting it in food.
No, they are putting it in food, and
they're
trying to actually, the whole. I don't know if we could say this on the family show, but the whole cow farting thing causes so much methane that the ozone layer is being damaged by cows.
They're calling it a cheta.
Cheta.
A cheta. So you'll find, you may find products somewhere, and it'll say, like in the ingredients, it'll say, you know, like salt, enzymes, acheta protein, blah, 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 and you don't realize they change the words on purpose. Because if they put cricket, you might be like, I don't want to eat the bugs. So they're rebranding it so they can start mashing up bugs and putting it in your food.
They do that with everything. They do that with all of the words. Like there's this new thing that's happening now where if you say that Kamala Harris was a DEI hire, which everyone knows she was because Joe Biden promised to have a black woman for his vice president, and that was the only short list they put together.
I
Now
think it
if
was
you say-
just woman. Was it black woman?
I'm pretty sure it was a black woman.
I thought it was just
It's a
woman.
minority
Was it?
woman, I think.
I thought the black.
Minority, so he was open.
He said
to
he was
more-
going.
more
I thought he
options.
said he was going to appoint a black woman to the Supreme Court.
He did say that for
and
sure.
he said he was going to get a woman for a VP. I don't know.
Okay.
I'll check.
Well, we could check it out. I'm happy to be wrong if I'm wrong. But now, if you say anything about DEI, you have people coming out, you know, pundits on CNN coming out saying that it's like calling her the N-word.
Which-
It's racist to say
Oh, okay.
that someone was a DEI
listen,
hire.
It was. Biden said he's considering 4 black women to be his running mate.
And like Karen Bass was on the list, I think.
Right.
Yeah. So it really was racial and sexual.
So it was a racial decision as to who he was going to bring on as his running mate. And now if you point that out, you're racist for saying it. So it doesn't that doesn't make any sense. You know, they just are changing reality and demanding that everyone go along with it. And it's just infuriating because it is this consistent changing of definitions, like how woman can now mean, you know,
Whatever you want
the
it to mean.
penised man.
Well, Jack Posobiec nailed it with his question. He says, if it's good to be, if DEI is good, why do they get offended when you say this person was a DEI hire?
Perfect
right.
way to say it.
Should be
That's
good.
And they're like, how dare you? It's like, what's offensive about it?
Because the Biden
Don't you want DEI?
Right, the Biden campaign was like looking for an accolade when they were like, "Look at our list of diverse women candidates." They thought that this was going to get them a gold star. Apparently,
Do you-
it's a bad move.
Going back to the crickets thing, do you guys remember the cicadas?
Of
Yep.
course.
And